What is up, everyone? It is Andres Restart, and I am joined today with my good friend Sean from Monolith Gaming. It's only him and I tonight because everyone
Yep.
else is dead. Sort of. They both are dealing with work and moving out and life, so neither of our other two members can join tonight, and we couldn't get any guests yet, but we're working on it. So, but I think two of us should be good enough for a decent discussion. Just maybe shorter than usual. Who knows? We'll see. We'll go with the flow. It might be great. It could be terrible. So, Sean, how are you doing, buddy? Anything interesting going on with your life at all? You know, no, you don't say
Well,
anything personal on the internet, but yeah.
yeah. I did up a game the other day called Mario Kart Deluxe. That's been pretty interesting.
Yeah?
I've been loving it so much more than I was expecting to, honestly.
It's like I've actually been really busy the last couple of days, and I've only played it a little bit. But it's been when I have played it, I've enjoyed it a lot, and it feels. My only issue with it is that I'm too good at the game already, but I feel like for playing online, it's gonna be awesome because it does feel different. And I'm not talking about battle mode, which is cool, but I'm talking about Grand Prix mode because all those little things that they added. I think if you're like really into racing, competing, right? So you're always trying to pull the extra few seconds, like just
Yeah.
trying to get the double items and the different arrangements for where the items are now, and the fact that there's more items trying to hit you because of the double items, and then the boo, so you have a good item, right? You save up two good items at the end, but then all of a sudden a boo comes and takes your item, and you're like, oh crap, I'm in the first now, but the boo took out my item, so I don't have a defensive item anymore. So it kind of changes like the entire balance of everything now, and it feels awesome. And no one has brought this up at all for some reason, but I'm actually enjoying the HD Rumble. Like, it's not like, I mean, we've all been
How
over
do you
this,
think of
but
that?
personally, like, yeah, it's not, oh god, I should pay $300 to experience the HD Rumble. No, but it is better. It does feel better. I notice it, and it kind of enhances the experience. It's a little thing, but it's one little thing on top of another on top of another, like the extra confetti in all the tracks. Have you noticed that
Yeah.
there's extra confetti? Yeah,
Yeah, actually I have.
it's I don't know why they did that. Like, did it even make the game look better? Like, it's there. I guess I appreciate it, but it's just kind of like a random thing to add, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I said this before. I really wish I did not play the game at PAX East because it completely ruined like all of my expectations. Because for one, I played one race there, and everything I experienced then, like the double items and the new characters, like really, like I wasn't able to experience it enough, and I let my like short, quick match like pretty much like make me not excited for the game like at all. Because when I played it, it like nothing was different at all. But I didn't really like was actually able to
Right.
really focus and like test it out even more. So um, I didn't even realize the purple spark was a thing at the time. Which that honestly is probably my favorite new addition because I've always wanted something more than just the orange spark because sometimes I can drift like really long time and I'm just like I kind of want something more for doing this and the double items are add like so much more depth like than I
Yeah.
even thought.
I know. We didn't anticipate that these minor changes would make such a big difference. Like, they may
Yeah,
have not gone it through the effort of adding a whole bunch of new tracks, right? Which, I mean, even though I wish there were more tracks, 48 tracks is a lot, and I'm not tired of any of them, right? But it's interesting. I want to go back to the point you were talking about, the playing it at PAX, though, because there's a couple things that I'm thinking about when you're saying that. So, one, like, I remember that was before like all the big trailers when they were trying to get a lot of buzz going on through the internet and social media with Mario Kart. Like, we should have known about the purple sparks before, but we didn't. So does that
Yeah.
mean that there was like an earlier build that didn't have a lot of these little nuanced features?
Yeah, honestly, I was thinking the same thing. Because the map I played on was Wild Woods, and that's what it's called, right? That like Animal Crossing one.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I think.
so.
And the part where it's like a river and it goes down like this like tree, like you
Yeah.
can like get like a really long drift on it. I always do, and I do not recall any like purple spark or anything really different I played.
Hmm.
So that could have been in an
It's
earlier build.
possible. But also
Yeah.
maybe you just didn't get an opportunity to, because like I still think I'm still getting the hang of it. Like I said, I haven't played it as much as I would have liked to because I've been so busy this weekend making an awesome video, which you totally should check out. But I'll talk about that later. Anyways, like it because yeah, you can only do it sometimes, right? And as you play and get better at Mario Kart understanding the tracks, you're gonna find more opportunities to land that purple spark. But I wonder if like they thought about, oh, we're gonna put in tracks that won't really facilitate people to use the purple sparks too often, or maybe it was just an older build. I mean, like you said, you feel pretty confident you would
Yeah.
have been able to get it normally, so
Yeah.
it was not
Yeah, especially
reported.
playing.
So
Yeah, the PAX was like the beginning of March,
yeah,
like the first week.
huh? Like right before the Switch came out, or at the same time?
It was like I remember it was March 10th when PAX
Okay, so it was
was,
after
exactly.
it was after the Switch came out. Okay,
Yeah.
because the Switch came out on the 3rd. It's all a blur now, even though it was like a month and a half ago. Okay.
I know, right?
All right, so, huh? Okay. I guess I just don't remember like there being any media about this. So I guess it must have been just a different, build. But regardless, like I think that raises it. There's another point I want to consider here, though, is that you were playing this in a crowded room filled with tons of people, and it impacted your experience, right? So
Yeah.
like when you get it to play it with yourself or like in a normal playing environment, you're enjoying it a lot more. So
Yeah, it's very true.
I guess it's just something to consider. I have never really gone to a big event to play a specific game, or if I had, it was never like just kind of like a sidebar thing. It wasn't meant to be like
Yeah.
my main reason for being there. So I've never had negative reviews or previews or whatever impressions of a game
Yeah.
at an event like that because I've never done it specifically.
But it's also like I kind of had these unrealistic expectations that it was going to be like basically a new game,
Okay.
which yeah, that's like another reason why I was disappointed. Which honestly, I'm mad at myself for doing that because yeah, it's like it's. I mean, let's be honest, it pretty much is like the same game, but yeah, there's like all these little things that just for some reason it like made me addicted to the game the other night. Like I literally played for 5 straight hours, and there's just all these like little things that make it feel like so much better than like the Wii U version.
Yeah, it's
So much more depth.
like it's kind of one of those things where like they made a lot of really small intelligent changes that improve the overall experience. It's kind of like a Wind Waker HD, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like Wind Waker HD is not that different from the Wind Waker, but they made a lot of little minor changes that are subtle that many people may not even realize aside from, the lighting system. Like
Good point. Yeah.
it makes it a lot better. So I feel I kind of get a similar vibe with Mario Kart Deluxe, even though the game only looks marginally better because 1080p versus 720p. But still, like overall, I'm pretty happy with it. And considering all the options you have with the Switch, because like you can play in so many different ways on the go, yeah, but it's also multiplayer on the go too. Like that is an option. Like there came when I picked up Mario Kart and my brother was with me in the car and I was like, oh, if we had brought our Switch and we were stuck in traffic, we could have played Mario Kart on one single Switch in the car. Theoretically speaking, that would have been possible. Wouldn't have been smart because we'd be in traffic, but it would have. It was just kind of a fun thought to think that that was possible, and for a lot of kids out there, that's totally what they're gonna do. So it's interesting. And I guess we'll as time goes on, we're gonna actually get to do stuff like this. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped for it. I think Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is great. If you can afford to buy it, you should.
Yeah. There's one thing that's really making me mad about this game is that the online is like laggy. like pretty
Really?
bad. Yeah, especially with battle mode. Like honestly, like racing, I haven't experienced like any lag, but
What
battle
if it's
mode is just
okay?
awful.
So it's not your connection, you don't think?
No, because it's pretty much like as laggy as like the Wii U one, but in battle mode, or like earlier, you can even like rewatch it on my stream that I did. I was playing the um Shine Thief. Do you know what that one is?
Yeah, yeah.
Like I was no, I was playing the Renegade one.
Okay, Renegade Roundup.
Yeah. And pretty much like you eat like your piranha plant like eats the other team,
Yeah, yeah.
and I literally like ate this guy like 3 different times. I was like chasing him around. I like ate him, but it didn't like register like in the game.
Right.
So like it was like frustrating me, and also Shine Thief lags a lot because um when you hit someone that with the shine, it like sometimes doesn't register like every time,
Okay.
but then sometimes it lags when they do. So you hit them, but then they lose it like 5 seconds later, and it's just like it's like really messing with my game.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, but I
No,
don't know
I,
if it's just me or not. I don't think
oh
it is.
well, I haven't played battle mode online, so I can't tell you for sure. Well, I guess I'll have to have my own updated impressions as I have more time with the game. But I feel like it's one of those things that could be patched later. And another thing I would love to have patched is the defaulted assist mode, turn assist mode. That bothers the hell out of me. Like I think, like I knew about it coming into it, so I was prepared to turn it off. But there are so many people that are gonna play this game with turn assist on, and they're just like, "Oh, I'm so good at this game." That's because turn assist is on. That's for little kids. Like, no offense to anyone who's bad at Mario Kart. Some people just suck at Mario Kart. I get it. Like, I'm not good at. Actually, I'm really good at like every video game. I'm just kidding. I'm not good at. I'm trying to think of it. I'm not good at Madden. I'm terrible at Madden. There you go. See, not perfect. So, that is. There's two things that need to be patched ASAP. I guess one is the laggy battle mode online, and that default turn assist mode. Like that should not. It should not be defaulted. I understand why they kind of did it. I guess because they wanted kids to jump in easily, right? They shouldn't force kids to. Oh, because it's kind of one of those things where, like, for example, like playing Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, right? When you continuously die, and they're like, "Hey, do you want the Silver Kong to beat the game for you?" I'm like, hell no. I have never seen a Silver Kong because, like, that's insulting. I won't do that. So I can understand why they would put it the other way and wouldn't have, like, a prompt come up saying, "Hey, you suck at racing. Turn on turn assist." But I just feel like there could have been a smarter way to implement that and cater to kids that aren't good at the game and people who should just not have to do that immediately. It's also the other issue is that it's not blatantly obvious from the get-go how to change it. You know what I mean? So it's if it's on default, but like they make it very clear from immediately that you have turn assist mode on and that you could turn it off. I think that might be the best way to satisfy everyone, to like not make the people who suck feel bad for being asked to do it, but also giving those people who obviously don't need it the option to turn it off immediately without having to play through and realize, oh, this is too easy. So it's hopefully it's patched. But
yeah, I agree.
So do you have any other final thoughts on Mario Kart before we jump into the slew of other topics we have to talk about tonight?
No, I think I'm good.
All right, just saying hi to the peeps on the chat. So next, topic is a rumor for Final Fantasy VII Remake. I may be remembering the sources incorrectly, but a very popular Twitter person who has inside sources and such, I think from Distify, they got from a secondhand source that they find reliable that Final Fantasy VII Remake is slated for the Nintendo Switch, and Square is going to be presenting it at their show, the Switch version, at E3. And it's interesting because Nintendo's already announced that they're not going to have their own personal live conference. So to have it at, just for Square to have it at their own personal live conference, that could be really cool. I, for one, would be extremely hyped, stoked. I might have a heart attack. Thankfully, I think I'm in decent condition health-wise, so that probably won't happen. For Final Fantasy VII Remake on the Switch. Like, that'll be awesome. And if they show off footage on the Switch version, that'll be great. Because even if a lot of times developers will announce something for a weaker platform, but they rarely will show footage for it. So if they're willing to show off a whole build of it on their floor, like on during their conference, that shows that they have confidence in it and they think it's a good actual build of the game. Of course, this is just a rumor. We don't know if it's true. Sony probably has some sort of, you know, exclusive rights to at least get it a few months before everyone else. What do you think, Sean?
Well, obviously, yeah, that would be like pretty monumental if that were to happen because, yeah, like you said, Sony will probably get like exclusive rights, which makes sense because the game was only on the original PlayStation, and honestly, like if it actually does come to the Switch, I think that's like a huge bonus for Nintendo fans and kind of a blow for Sony fans because they're like, hey, this game was only on this system, it only ever has been. So like, why shouldn't it still be here? But then we're on our side, we're like pretty much like celebrating because it's such a huge game. Although,
I mean, the Final Fantasies used to be really big on Nintendo systems before our heyday, right? But on the NES and Super Nintendo, they were big. They were big games, and SquareSoft at that time, I think, when they moved over to just the PS1, that was a big deal. That was probably one of the biggest daggers that the N64 got during the 90s, losing Final Fantasy.
Yeah, but it almost came to N64, but it's just the cartridges didn't have the space for it.
Right, and it wasn't... I think Nintendo had a bad relationship at the time with Square. So...
Yeah.
But it's interesting, though, because, you know, Monolith Soft used to be a part of Square. They used to be called Squaresoft. Now they're just called Square Enix. That's because Monolith Soft, the guys who make Xenoblade and Kaitos, are now a separate company, and Nintendo owns most of their stakes, so they're basically a Nintendo developer. They are. They only make Nintendo games, and they make really awesome open-world Nintendo games. So, I don't know, man. I'd be super excited, but yeah, I understand, like, a lot of people kind of perceive it as, like, a Sony kind of property, but it actually isn't.
Yeah.
So, I hope it happens. I hope it happens, because... Personally, you know, I was a kid at the time. I always had this excitement for the PS1, but I was a Nintendo kid. I got the N64, and I enjoyed it, but I saw, like, Final Fantasy and things like that, and I never really got to fully experience them rightfully at the time. Of course, I would love to get a chance to experience a modernized version of Final Fantasy VII, because it is considered to be one of the best games of all time. So, hopefully, fingers crossed, it comes to the Switch, but I'm sure it'll be great on PS4 regardless.
Yeah.
So... Moving on to the next topic. Speaking of Sony and Nintendo exclusives fighting it over, there is another rumor, which could be very upsetting to some. Monster Hunter 5. Apparently, now this is just a rumor, I think it's coming from NeoGAF, so like, you know, grains of salt, right? Maybe even, it's probably, from what I'm hearing, it's probably even less likely than the Final Fantasy thing, which is good news for Nintendo fans, so let me get to the point. Apparently, Sony secured the rights to Monster Hunter 5 for the PlayStation 4. So, but also apparently within this rumor, Monster Hunter Portable is coming to the Switch instead. So, I guess the big, like, main Monster Hunter games coming to Sony, to PlayStation, but the Switch will still get some sort of Monster Hunter. But it's, I don't know, it's I don't like the sound of that, especially since Monster Hunter has become such a big deal on Nintendo systems over the last, like, 5 years or so. But, you know, what's interesting is that Monster Hunter used to be a bigger deal on Sony systems, and they kind of switched back. And this rumor suggests that might go either way. Personally, I wish both systems could get it, like, but I don't understand why they do that whole exclusivity thing. It's probably just all money from the companies fighting over for that one franchise, because whoever gets Monster Hunter basically wins Japan. You know, of course, Nintendo has Pokemon and Splatoon, so that's going to help them out. But if they get Monster Hunter, like there's no competition for Nintendo in Japan. If they have Monster Hunter, they won't lose to Sony. It's not even it won't happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think, Sean? Have you even played Monster Hunter? Are you a Monster Hunter fan? I love Monster Hunter. For the record.
I like Monster Hunter on the Wii, but I hate it on the 3DS because the controls I cannot stand. Like it's just such an intense game that playing it on the 3DS, like it hurts my hands, and there's like some simple things that like don't exist in it, like targeting onto the monsters, and like they don't have like health bars, so it's just like sometimes I feel like I'm fighting these things for like an hour and like they're not even close to dead. But yeah, Monster Hunter would sell like a zillion Switches in Japan.
Dude,
HD,
HD portable Monster Hunter, like that is super exciting for me. I love Monster Hunter. Like I don't know if you guys have noticed by this point, but I consider myself a pretty hardcore gamer. I like to really challenge myself, even if I do suck at a game. Like I like things that are hard, which is why I like the idea of Dark Souls coming to the Switch. Monster Hunter is just brutally challenging, and I love that, but it's also realistic. You know, you have to learn and study the movements of your enemies and adapt to the environment. And if you suck, you will be punished for it. I love that. So, if it comes to the Switch, which, you know, it should be coming to the Switch, some form of Monster Hunter is going to come to the Switch. It's just a question if it's going to be the big, best, awesome version of Monster Hunter. You know, the AAA actual game.
Yeah.
I don't like the sound of it, but Monster Hunter Portable could still be good, right? I mean, like all the PSP games are supposed to be pretty good too, so it'll be okay. Like it's not a complete loss, but I really hope that rumor is wrong. It's only coming from NeoGaf, so it probably is. So
yeah.
But any final thoughts on Monster Hunter 5 before we move on?
I just hope that they add a lot, and then I'll be happy.
I didn't catch that.
Oh, I said I just hope that they add a lock-on mechanism. I'll be happy.
Yeah, because the 3DS version had like a lock-on, but you had to like press the button on the touchscreen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it did have a lock-on, but it was kind of. I can understand. Like, I know you were talking about how like you had a lot of issues with the 3DS controls. A lot of people did. I guess it comes down to me is like, you know, I adapt. And I like brutally hurting my hand because I did get it would hurt, but I would still do it. I would fight through the pain. But yeah, it would be nice to have like a more comfortable lock on. You know, like just by doing that, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
So definitely Monster Hunter on the Switch would be perfect because it's portable and you get those console controls in HD.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully it happens. So moving on. We got, if you guys haven't noticed in the background or from the thumbnail, there's this guy, a new character announced for ARMS. He's the Helix character. He's goofy. He's interesting. I think he's pretty cool, and it's just kind of another example of the great designs that are coming from ARMS. I kind of made a game for myself recently where I try to think of other ARMS characters because every character I see that they show off for ARMS, I'm like, wow, how did they come up with that? And I consider myself a pretty creative person, but I feel like there's like, oh, Noodles, okay, that makes sense. Oh, Helix, like actual DNA, like, okay.
That's Nintendo for you.
Right, like I've tried to think of something else. I thought of yo-yos, maybe, but they sort of already have that. There's the mummy guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we should do that for a show. Just come up with hypothetical new ARMS characters and what their arms would be based off of. Because it has to be something that's like lanky and long, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like tree palm. I don't know. But it's another game that kind of like the more and more I see for ARMS, the more and more promising it looks. I've said this multiple times, but I think the only thing that's going to hold back this game from being a complete and utter, like, amazing breakout new franchise is a lack of content, which is something that I think happens to a lot of new franchises, and usually you see that in the sequels and then on, like, you know, the original Smash Brothers, like Splatoon. I don't know. I feel like we're only going to get like 10 characters, but those 10 characters seem really, really interesting. and it seems like the mechanics are very deep. I'm excited for the game. I think it's going to be really special, and it's just another new Nintendo game that's coming that looks. It's like kind of like Splatoon. When we saw Splatoon, we weren't sure how it is. It's very different, but it's this new thing. It's kind of in my opinion, it's all representative of the new Nintendo, where they're creating these new experiences that are really awesome. And I think Breath of the Wild is actually another example of that. You know, even though it's still Zelda, it's almost like a completely new experience, and it's, you know, throwing us for a loop, and it just feels fresh. I feel like this modern Nintendo is kind of matching up to the Nintendo of old, where they came up with all these awesome new franchises back in the day.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've missed that during the Wii and the Wii U era. So it's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I mean, you know, Sean, you haven't said too much about this ARMS Helix character. Do you think much of him at all, or anything for ARMS, or?
Yeah, I think fighting him is gonna be really annoying. Like, he's gonna be that character that everyone's gonna hate, like, fighting against, because, like, if you look at the trailer, he moves in such weird ways, and he's just, like, stretchy, and what it makes me think, we don't really know that much about this game still, so I'm wondering if each character has, like, different stats, like, because he was in the trailer, he's fighting, like, the mummy guy, so I'm wondering if to make up for his, like, flexibility and his quickness, he's, like, weaker, while the mummy guy, make up for his slowness, he's, like, stronger.
Yeah, well, they definitely have their own abilities, but to what extent, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, like, I don't know if, like, there's, like, stats like speed or defense and strength and whatnot. Like,
the ninja guy should totally be able to, like, move fast, but, like, probably hit really soft, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that could be another nice little layer. Not absolutely necessary, assuming that these special abilities they have make them all feel different. But I think I think you're onto something, actually. I think they could be like stats like that. It makes sense. Like, I just can't see, you know, if you look at the big mummy guy and you compare it to one of, like, the smaller, lighter characters, like, I find it hard to believe that if they both throw their punches, they both do the exact same damage. Like, it just seems like the mummy one moves slower, but he does hit harder. So
yeah, he's, like, also, like, really a lot bigger than all of them, except for, like, the girl.
Right, so he's also a bigger target too, right? Yeah. So that means he can take hit. I think there is something more to it. I think they have more than just a specific ability to set them apart. I think they might have at least some stats involved. It makes a lot of sense. It's a good point.
Yeah, because, like, if you look at the gameplay, when they hit each other, there's, like, numbers that pop out, like damage numbers, like 20 and 30. Such, so.
No, I think you definitely, like, I think it has. Yeah, I do think the actual arms themselves will have their own specific stats, but the characters have to affect that too. Because why even bother to show a number then, right? If there's gonna be some variance between actual attacks.
Right.
Yeah. No, I'm completely sold on that. I think you're 100% spot on. They totally have stats. Confirmed. Yeah. You heard it here first. So that adds another layer to the game. You know, the game, like I said, the more and more we learn about this game, it does seem to be a great game. Just, again, it's going to come down to how much content it has. But it looks like whatever is going to be there is going to be deep. So that's pretty promising, to be honest. All right. I think there's one more rumor to talk about today. And this rumor, according to GameXplain, it's going to happen. Well, I'm talking about the Mario Rabbids Crossover RPG. And Emily Rogers has been the main proponent, not proponent, but the person who's been really leaking all this out, supposedly. And anyways, according to trusted sources like IGN, GameXplain, they do believe the game is actually coming. The question is, some of these new mechanics that have been said, how true is all of that? Is that going to be actually how the game functions and works? That remains to be seen, but there is some sort of game in the works. It is involving Mario and Rabbids, apparently. And within the rumor, if I'm remembering correctly, because I'm paraphrasing here, basically there's going to be like 8 characters, and 4 of them are going to be like, you know, Peach, Mario, Luigi, Yoshi, I think. Or it might be Toad instead, I'm not sure. And then there's going to be 4 of the characters that have not been disclosed yet, probably from the Rayman, you know, Ubisoft side of the things. They are all using like space technology weapons. Like Mario might have like a laser gun or something like that. Right, that's it. I don't know how true that could be, but that is definitely something that's completely unexpected for the Mario franchise. You know, I mean, it's not a Mario franchise game; it's a crossover. It's gonna feel like something completely different. And if it does kind of harken back to like the Mario RPG days from way back when, before we were talk, like it's you know that could be really cool. I don't know how exactly it's working. Apparently, you don't even control them directly. There's like some sort of mechanical. I don't remember the name of it. Like some sort of propeller antenna disc thing that controls the characters. So how
Yeah.
exactly is that going to work? Is it going to be kind of more like a StarCraft kind of game? Wouldn't that be
Yeah.
kind? That would be. That would
Yeah.
just
Like
be completely left field.
the weirdest thing ever, right? I mean, well, no, we've been hearing these rumors for like a wicked long time.
Yeah.
So I honestly think just because they've been going around for so long, it's
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
And it literally sounds like the absolute weirdest Nintendo game ever. Like yeah, it was good. The original rumor was that it was like a strategy game or something like that, like StarCraft. That like you don't directly control these people, but like having only 8 characters at a game like that doesn't make sense at all. So I mean, it just sounds like the weirdest game. I don't know
Yeah.
how I feel, like sci-fi weapons and
I,
lasers and
I'll
stuff.
be straight up. Assuming this is all real, from what I know, I'm not interested. However, I have to say this that, when we're getting all the supposed leaks for the Nintendo Switch, and Eurogamer detailed what the Switch was, the Switch concept when we just thought of it as Nintendo NX, I was just like, oh, that doesn't sound very good at all. Right?
Yeah,
And they weren't wrong about what they said, but the way they said it, the way they showed it off, was not very compelling. And when Nintendo finally showed us everything, we kind of understood how it all came together. All of a sudden, I'm like, that's awesome, you know? So, I don't know if the same will apply to this game, but I'm not, I'm going to wait until I actually get to see the game, see how it plays, see what people think of it, before what I think of it, before I, decide it's not worth it. So, but it's definitely
yeah,
going to be a weird game, and I am assuming we're going to see it at E3.
yeah. I think it's gonna be one of those Nintendo games where, on paper, it sounds like it should be like really dumb and bad, but like Splatoon, if you like read that like on paper, someone hands you that idea, you'd be like, what? Like
Yeah,
what even is this? But like
that
once
that
you
is
actually
also
see
true.
it,
When you see it in
yeah,
motion, that's when it all clicks. When you see that you can like run up the walls as a squid form and then duck and hide, and it's just
yeah, it's just
like
Splatoon just sounds so weird. And
yeah.
um it's also weird that it's Rabbids. I thought that was like a dead franchise.
Well, I
It's not like
mean,
just Rayman in general, which I kind of wish it was. Might be,
yeah,
but
I like Rayman, or I thought I did. It's I don't know. I guess Ubisoft sees it as kind of like Rabbids is a very they have a mainstream appeal, right? Because the Rabbids almost seem like a precursor to the what are those yellow characters that come from that movie? There's like a couple
Minions.
minions, right? They're
Yeah, they're like
almost
the
like a
same thing.
precursor to the minions, and like they had a bit of a widespread mainstream appeal. So Ubisoft probably was like I feel like this game didn't come out of like simply like happy accident. They were thinking, what would sell? Mario, Rabbids.
Yeah,
People, and they probably looked at trending genres. Oh, the RPG genre seems to be trending. Mario Rabbids RPG. Throw it into a bucket, swirl it around, give it to a developer. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that was sort of going along with what was going. Hopefully, there was more. The actual game, like the reason they make this game, was more genuine than that. But
yeah,
from what we're hearing, those are the vibes I'm getting. That some PR guys, not even PR guys, just guys who work to try to plan games who don't really play games, are like, let's just do this. That's what's trending, you know.
yeah,
So it's funny, and well, we won't know for sure till we see that game probably at E3. So
yeah.
man, it's just, you're gonna say something, Sean?
Yeah, I looked up the like original rumor, and it like pretty much just like the same. Like it's definitely this is definitely it because it says it's a strategy RPG game to the likes of XCOM, which is like exactly what this new rumor is describing. Like, you don't control the characters. You select a character in XCOM, and then you tell them where to go, like individually.
Like Advanced
like
Wars? Like Battalion Wars?
I never played that game.
Okay.
But probably. Like, it's like you move them, but you don't at the same time.
So it has like an RTS element to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
So, yeah.
I don't know if that makes me want it more or less.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think Nintendo's ever done a strategy game before.
I guess the other thing that's weird about it to me is that there's not that many characters based off the rumors, so it's not going to really feel like StarCraft or Age of Empires.
Yeah.
So that changes things. You know, actually, what it is sounding a lot like? Project Steam.
Yeah, that's another game. Yeah.
Yeah.
That you don't move them, but you do at the same time.
Right, but that's actually kind of why I wasn't sure if I liked the game, because I didn't like the idea of not really playing these characters. You know, like I kind of wanted it to be me running around as Abraham Lincoln shooting people, rather than telling Abraham Lincoln to run around and shoot people in a very slow turn-based sort of way. And I think that game bombed, actually. Like, it seemed like a great idea, sort of. Like, I could tell there's a lot of thought put into it, and it looked like they had some good developers behind it. But I think the way they pitched it, or just they needed to tweak some things, because it just didn't. The idea of it wasn't, I guess, interesting enough for a lot of people. I didn't think it was. I didn't buy it. Like, you know. So
yeah, I don't think the whole like playing as Tom Sawyer and like shooting aliens thing. I was just like, not for me.
Yeah. So I could see this sort of happen. What if like the Project Steam was like, hey, you should just put Mario and Rabbids in here instead of Abraham Lincoln and Tom Sawyer, and then it'll work out. You know.
Yeah.
Maybe, but who knows? But hopefully the game will sell well regardless, because there's gonna be lots of consoles out there, and it's gonna make it easier for games to sell. Hopefully that was a good segue, because I want to talk about Switch sales. And we've gotten some updated reports. From the numbers that I remember exactly, 2.74 million Switch units have been shipped for the month of March. So between March 3rd and March 31st, that's when they were trying to get in that many units, and they did. They got in they shipped 2.74 million Switch units in between that. Basically the first month, not even a whole month. That's a lot to have shipped. And if you guys were alive and paid attention during the month of March, you couldn't get a Switch. So effectively, that basically means that the Switch sold about 2.5 million units for its first month out on the market. In the month of March, one of the most dead months of the year.
Yeah.
Which says a lot. That is incredibly promising. That says really good things. I mean, those numbers compare to the PS4 during holiday season. That's huge. Like, to have comparable numbers when the PS4 had a much better, it was a much better market for them at the time, because it was Christmas, and, people were kind of retired of the PS3 and such at that time. So it's very promising. And the Zelda apparently has sold like 2.76 million or something on just a Switch, for the record. It sold like 4 million overall in the month of March. So that counts Wii U. That's amazing. 4 million copies with a very, very limited install base. That's the month of March, the most dead year, one of the most dead years of months of the year. So I can only imagine where Zelda's going to be at come Christmas time, and obviously the Switch as well. And if they get out, well, Mario Odyssey is coming, Splatoon is coming, Mario Rabbids, whatever. If they can get Pokemon Smash out, I don't think Smash will come, but I have a feeling Pokemon's going to come. They're just going to, I don't know where they're going to be at, but I can't help but think that if things continue in this way, the Switch is going to sell so many units that it's going to basically become kind of like the PS2 of this generation. Not necessarily in terms of completely dominant sales, though it is possible, just in the sense that it's going to get like every game out there. Like developers are going to see how many people are buying the system. We're like, look, even if we have to lower the textures or spend an extra month of development time and put a little bit more money into it, we're going to get this game on the Switch because it's going to make us money. Like, and that's good for me and us gamers, because if you only can afford a Switch, or you rather save your another $300 and just spend it on more games, you could just get a Switch and get third-party games in the future, assuming everything sells well. We've talked about this many times because it's a very big topic for us gamers. Things are promising, and if you're a Nintendo fan or a fan of Switch or a gamer in general, that's good news. So, I kind of went on a giant rant there, Sean. I didn't let you talk much, but sorry.
That's fine.
What are your thoughts on the sales and what this could mean for Nintendo, the Switch, and the gaming industry in general? Big question, but say what you want.
Well, it's just like I can only imagine, because Mario Kart 8 is already like the best-selling game of the year. Like, it's 2 days old, and I can only imagine what the numbers will be for like May, or even like the last like 2 days of April. I wonder what those numbers would be like just because of Mario Kart.
Yeah,
I know like a bunch of places got some Switches in pretty much on the same day just because they know people want it.
Right, and they probably sold out of stock within those 2 days because of Mario Kart.
Yeah, like Mario Kart is gonna be a big thing at Christmas. Zelda bundle maybe because it's an older game. Maybe
right, but also consider that they have the DLC coming, and they could use that to really ramp up the hype.
Yeah, so that at Christmas, and Mario Odyssey at Christmas, and who knows whatever else.
Right. If they can get Pokemon out this year and Monster Hunter, like, GG,
Yeah.
Like,
R.I.P. Sony and Microsoft.
Right. Of course, that's why, we going back to the Monster Hunter 5 exclusive rumor. These companies aren't just going to let Nintendo run them over. Like, they're going to fight back. So something like, that kind of maybe getting that Monster Hunter 5 exclusive is Sony fighting back. And then that would be a blow for the Switch, but things are going so well. That's just one iffy little thing compared to a whole bunch of others. But I don't know. But regardless, having the companies compete like this is going to be a good thing for gamers. Even if you hate Nintendo, if Nintendo does well, Sony and Microsoft will do better as well. So be happy regardless, Yeah. So I think, unless there's anything else you want to cover regarding the sales, I think there's another interesting topic to talk about. And that is the lack of a live press conference. We already brought up E3 a few times already, but it's already been officially confirmed that Nintendo will not have a live press conference. That doesn't mean they won't have a Nintendo event, a Direct, or some sort of digital event during E3 along with the Treehouse. It just means that they won't get up on stage like they did back in the early 2000s and late 90s. I mean, a lot of companies aren't even doing that anymore. Yeah. So and when we do it, a lot of times it's kind of boring to watch because they do have to say things for, a lot of business people who don't even care about games. They have to be very, professional sounding, not too fun and comical as all the time. And then there's, you wait for the audience, and sometimes there are technical difficulties. And it's just not as smooth and great as a viewing experience. As a consumer who's just going to be watching things from home, I think the Direct is a better approach on pretty much all accounts. There's only one thing that I can think of that would be, I guess, in my opinion, a disappointment. And that is that you won't be able to hear the oohs, the ahs, the cheers. Like, there's that famous 2004 Zelda reveal when Twilight Princess was revealed for the first time, before we even knew it was called Twilight Princess, right? When it was so mysterious, we just didn't know what it was. It just looked like the perfect Zelda game of our dreams. And when they showed it off in 2004, people were screaming and crying. It was, if you're not a big gamer, you might think it's ridiculous, but it gave lots of people goosebumps. Watching that, if I go back and watch that, it was legendary. Yeah, perfect wording there. It's that's the one kind of thing that by doing these Nintendo Directs, we lose that ability to do that. All we can really do is kind of watch like reaction videos on YouTube or watch how Twitter explodes, which is cool, but it's not the same. It's different.
Yeah, I agree. I do miss that, but like when Zelda was finally revealed, um, even um, the 2014 like the like little clip that they showed. If they showed that live, that would have like been insane. If they showed what they showed last year live, that would have been crazy.
Yeah.
Uh, that is like that is one thing that I will miss, but at the same time, I think I would rather have a more streamlined presentation without any of the technical difficulty mumbo jumbo and the boring like stiff suits like up on stage.
Yeah.
Um,
You
yeah,
know.
and if they, I just wanted to add real quick that if
No,
they
go go.
do it like they just did with the direct that just happened, kind of like they show like a bunch of games except for instead of like wicked slow presentations like from 2015 when they had like literally nothing to show. Um, I think that might be a little bit better. Except I don't know. It depends on like how big are the games that will actually be in it.
Right. Yeah. It's I agree. I think it's an easier way to show off a lot more games, and it's I just think it's a better way of presenting things, so I'm not worried. And I do think something else should be noted though. When they show off that final trailer for Breath of the Wild, when they had the big Switch event at the end of the event, that event was live, right? But I don't really remember the audience for that trailer. I remember that trailer, and that trailer was so freaking good. It was one of the best trailers I've ever seen, not for a video game, period. Like movies, all of it. It was just so
I
good,
agree.
and
Mm.
the hype for that, like I was so hyped. I don't care about other people's reactions, but still, like I mentioned before, in this modern era on YouTube, like tons of people had their own reaction videos. So if you want to kind of see people react, there's like a whole, it's a different world now. It's a different time where different things happen. People watch reaction videos, people get onto Twitter, and those things were super overloaded and hyped and exploding. It was interesting in its own way. And, that trailer's amazing. So, will we ever get these big conferences again? Maybe occasionally. Like, Nintendo did have a conference when they revealed the Switch, but it's not going to be at E3. At least for the time being. So, I'm okay with that. As long as Nintendo brings out the good stuff. Metroid better happen.
Yeah.
God, I don't think I would cry, but if there was ever a time for a man to cry, it would be when Metroid is shown off. So, another interesting thing came out this week. Well, announced. The new Nintendo 2DS XL, right? And when I say new, I mean like the branding new. Which is kind of weird because it's combining like 3 different 3DS platforms into one. And I don't know how many people expected for this to happen. I think we all just kind of assumed that the 3DS would just kind of like, die out slowly. But Nintendo is still, they said they're going to support the system, and they kind of are. They just announced a whole new system for it. I have my own thoughts on it, but Sean, why don't you, tell us what you think about that announcement?
Unbelievably, like, unexpected. Like, I was streaming when the trailer came out, and one of my viewers was like, they just announced a new 2DS XL. I was like, that's the biggest joke I've ever heard. But then I went on Nintendo's page, and I was just on YouTube, and I was like, what is this? This is the weirdest thing. But at the same time, not only does it like look really good, like even better than the new 3DS XL in my opinion, it just makes so much sense because they're doing this one last push for the 3DS. They're having games throughout the whole year and up until the holiday. It only makes sense to do this cheaper XL thing without the 3D, which most people don't even care about. I personally love, and I play every game with it. And I still think if someone was in the market, they would choose the regular 2DS because it's literally half the price. But at the same time, it makes perfect sense. Like no one saw it coming, but it still makes sense.
Yeah. It's cool. Like I see it and like, hey, that looks pretty fun. I kind of want it. If only it came out 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I would have considered that as my 3DS upgrade. But I think there's a few different talking points here stemming from this announcement. One, why is Nintendo doing this? Because some people I know are thinking, won't this kind of affect Switch sales? I understand that a little bit. Two, like, what? I thought, some people were probably thinking, I thought the 3DS was dying out, and Nintendo was just going to focus on the Switch. Why are they doing this? So my personal thoughts on that, and this is also kind of tying into our main topic for the day, like what direction is Nintendo taking the Switch, or what is Nintendo heading in general. So like when I see this 2DS after thinking about it for a little bit, and you kind of noted the $150 price, it's so much cheaper than the Switch that I think people that weren't going to get a Switch and just can't afford that premium Nintendo experience right now are going to see this and they're like, oh, well, there are a lot of games out there. Maybe I'll try it out. And they will. But I think it's actually going to be a pretty limited audience. In fact, this new 2DS XL is kind of reminding me of the Game Boy Micro. I don't know if you remember that. But the Game Boy Micro actually came out after the original Nintendo DS. Right? So it's kind of almost more like a collector's item for some people who just wanted to enjoy the Game Boy lineup. And it was never expected for it to be to sell like billions, not billions, that never happens, but like, millions and millions of units, but maybe, just kind of a little bit of a minor boost to help those Game Boy owners or people who just want to play the Game Boy library, but it's not meant for this big, this big push for millions of people. And I think that's the kind of vibe I'm getting from the 2DS. So, people rest assured, I don't think Nintendo's doing this because they don't trust the Switch. It's just smart to support what the 3DS is doing right now because they're not going to just let it die out like that. The 3DS is still making Nintendo the most money because it has the most units out there. It's selling the most games. So they're going to support it until it's ready to die out. And from what we're hearing, that could be late into 2018. So weird, but I think for now it kind of works out. I mean, what do you think, Sean? Do you think that's what Nintendo's doing, or is there something else at hand?
Yeah, I do. I agree. But I also think that this would never have been a thing if Pokemon Go never came out, which boosted Pokemon Sun and Moon sales like ridiculously, which boosted the 3DS sales ridiculously.
Yeah.
So I feel like if Pokemon Go or Pokemon Sun and Moon never came out, then I don't think this would be a thing because so many there's such a renewed interest in like the 3DS. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous because it's 6 years old now.
Yeah.
But it still has like this renewed interest, and they're definitely recognizing that because they're putting out like lots of software, nothing like big, but they're still putting out lots of games.
Right.
And yeah.
Well, I part of it I think is just people kind of remembering Nintendo again. So, and if you kind of want to just whet your appetite a little bit, the 3DS has tons of games. Or it could just be not even like old time fans, but maybe a lot of little kids are like, oh, what's a Nintendo? Because like we brought this up in our last podcast that there's a whole generation of people who grew up during the dying Wii era or the Wii U era. So Nintendo wasn't that big during those years. So there are a lot of kids that don't really know Nintendo, not well. So I can see the audience for a lot of little kids who their parents may not be willing to throw them into the whole Switch thing because that is expensive. It does look, it doesn't look like something you want to have a 5-year-old hold around all the time, But the new 2DS XL might be just right for those kids that are hearing about this Nintendo on the internet. And I think it's a smart move. And, you brought up a point that this kind of stuff that we're seeing now we wouldn't have seen before if things didn't go so well for the 3DS last year because of Pokemon. I actually think that with a lot of companies, especially Nintendo, they actually have multiple plans in order, and they kind of like they're reactionary depending on how things go. So, for example, if the Switch were to completely fail, Nintendo probably does have another console they have planned, but because the Switch is doing well, we'll never see that console. If that makes any sense. I mean, I can see the counter argument. Wait, why didn't we see that for the Wii U? Well, we kind of did. It was a Switch. It just took a lot longer than, Well, the Wii U actually had a short life cycle. So there you go. And You may never have seen the new 2DS if the 3DS died out, if it wasn't so successful last year. That makes sense. Or maybe would have had seen it last year to kind of keep things going quicker when they needed it.
Yeah. Who knows how long this thing's been like.
Right. They just had it in the back burner, like whenever they're ready to fire off that bomb. Another point that I think is interesting is that they're announcing this now instead of E3. I think it's interesting because that tells me, along with the 3DS Direct, where they talked about all these 3DS games and a lot of the summer Nintendo games, right? They're talking about them now instead of at E3. It's because they're getting all these other announcements out of the way because they're going to have some really awesome, big, super cool, freaking amazing stuff to show at E3. Am I getting overhyped? Maybe. Am I perhaps, setting myself up for disappointment? Maybe. But if I'm not, and I have a feeling I'm not, we're going to have some good stuff. Don't expect Metroid, though, because if you expect Metroid, you'll hate me and everyone else because, But maybe, a couple cool announcements, some 3D, some third-party stuff, and for Mario, expect Mario Odyssey. Mario Odyssey is going to blow us away, like, once we finally get to see what that game is all about. I think Nintendo, is getting these other announcements out of the way. That's what the vibe I'm getting, at least. And I've heard other people suggest the same thing. You're in agreement, Sean? Right?
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
It's cool stuff. So, what are your thoughts on Nintendo's direction in general? Do you think that is Nintendo going to treat the Switch as just a home console and continue to push the 3DS line, then eventually have a new portable to come after the 3DS? Or is the Switch going to be the singular platform for Nintendo a couple of years down the road? Or something else altogether?
Yeah, that's a good question. As for right now, like this generation of consoles, I think that they're going to 100% focus on the Switch. Reggie said the other day that the 3DS, they will continue to support the 3DS till 2018. He said that's as far as they'll go with it, which is logical and it makes sense because for one, the 3DS is old, really really old. Has like one of the longer lifespans for consoles, and it just makes so much sense to focus just on the Switch for now. But we'll see, because I don't think that they would stick with this hybrid thing forever, because I don't know, there's just something about it. The pure mobile experience is a lot different than, in my opinion, than when you take the Switch with you on the go. Because,
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just like the Switch isn't as portable as the 3DS, and the battery's not as good. And there's just something different about the 3DS compared to the Switch. It's just like the Switch really does feel like you're taking something like an actual console with you, because it's like so large, and I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain.
But I understand what you're saying, and actually, to your point, like, if let's assume Nintendo were to go with the Switch as their singular platform to support, not counting mobile, right? And they don't make handhelds anymore. Their Switch is their handheld and their home console. They won't be able to do the same thing they did with like the 3DS, the DS, and the Game Boy, where they come up with different iterations of the same system, like what we're seeing with the 3DS. We have the original 3DS, we have the 3DS XL, we have the new 3DS, we have the new 3DS XL, we have the 2DS, and now we have the new 2DS XL, right? Like that's like 5 or I stopped counting, but like at least like half a dozen different iterations of the same system, right? And all of those have multiple colors and like the little deluxe editions, like for different franchises. Like there's like probably like 50 different versions of a 3DS. I'm throwing out that number, but I probably am not off by that much. Like it's they won't be able to do that with a Switch. Like they'll be able to sell controllers and stuff, which is I think part of the argument for the Switch with the Joy-Cons in terms of from a business perspective, but it's not going to be the same as coming out with, new Switch XL Mini 2D S5. Stuff like that. I mean, maybe they will do that, but I think considering that the Switch is kind of geared as a home console, I don't know how well that'll work out. Now, bearing that in mind, I do think a Switch Mini is... I don't know if it's 100%. I think, like we kind of brought up earlier, that I think Nintendo plans a lot of things, and they're kind of reactionary depending on what happens to the market. But I think a Switch Mini is in the cards, and that could be kind of like a way to have a handheld, but still be a Switch at the same time, right? Like the Switch Mini, theoretically, as technology progresses and they adapt certain things, it could become a smaller Switch that you can't necessarily plug into your TV, not without extra parts. But you can fit it in your pocket. It's more durable, and it has better battery life, right? And maybe they only use like a 540p screen, so they can afford to have slightly weaker graphics, so they can make it that much smaller, and it'll still look good, and it could run the same games as a Switch, just lower resolution.
Right.
So that could be interesting. I don't know if they would do that. It's possible, and maybe if they do that, that could be the thing where they have different stuff, different like iterations for the different things, or maybe they're going to be entirely reliant on peripherals, or they're going to have other stuff in the future. I don't know. There's so many options, really. Like, there's the potential for having a upgraded Switch. There's potential for having a dock that powers up the Switch to 4K. There's the potential for having a VR version of Switch. Then there's the Switch Mini. Like, there's
Very true, yeah.
a lot of different directions they could go with this. Which ones they take, I don't know. They may not take any.
The Wii U didn't have any iterations. It was just the Wii U.
Right, but they wanted to sweep that under the rug as fast as they could.
Yes, true.
Yeah. I mean, looking at home console revisions, the Wii was the Wii, and then there's the Wii Brick, which kind of came out at the end of its life cycle, which got rid of the Virtual Console. No, it got rid of backwards compatibility. So, and then the GameCube. No, I think for the most part, most consoles don't have multiple iterations, right? They just have different colors.
Well, PS2 had PS2, PS2.
Right. Okay. Yeah, Sony does it a lot, and Microsoft does a lot, but I don't think Nintendo does it too often.
No, Wii U didn't have one. GameCube didn't have one. Just different colors. And N64.
They had the RAM expansion pack, though.
Yeah, which is kind of like same thing as like 3DS.
And then there was also the 64DD in Japan, which you can kind of like plug it on top to give the N64 more features. I mean, so it's not like Nintendo doesn't plan things to kind of change around their system or upgrade it, but like in terms of releasing an entirely new system that's the same branding, same platform, with home consoles, I think they've only been done like once or twice in their entire span. So
it's true, I never really thought about that.
But then again, is a Switch a home console or is it a portable?
Yeah.
So it's gonna become an age-old question that will never be. It'll be like the whole, how many licks does it take to get to the end of a, what's it called? Not a Tootsie Pop, is it? Tootsie Pop.
Tootsie Pop, yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
All I can say with confidence right now, and I kind of touched on this earlier, is simply that Nintendo is creating really great games right now. Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart Deluxe is just a remaster, but it's a really good remaster, and it's been highly rated. And then we're getting ARMS, and the designs for that look amazing. Splatoon looks amazing. Mario Odyssey is coming out this year. Xenoblade 2 is also coming out this year. And Pokemon could be right there. Smash could just be right there.
And who knows what else?
Right. There are the Metroid rumors. With the Switch selling so well, third parties could come in, and it's just kind of like what we're seeing with Nintendo. They're marketing things hardcore. They seem to understand what people want from them, or what the people want better than anyone else right now. Which is like a complete polar opposite of the Wii U era, right? It's weird, but at least I can say that Nintendo is on their A game when it comes to making really good games. Like, Breath of the Wild is proof enough. So, I'm excited. Pretty awesome. Sean, do you have any final points? And guys, if you have any quick questions for us to answer, we'll try to answer a few of them before we end the show for the night. But if you don't, comments below, answer it later.
Yeah. I just want to throw out there that but it's not really like directly related to anything we talked about, but I just kind of want to throw this out there that we might not get like a lot of the multi-platform games, but it seems like we're gonna get a lot of third parties making exclusive games. Like Koei Tecmo earlier today said they're working on more Switch exclusives. Like they make like the Fire Emblem Warriors and Hyrule Warriors, and there's the Ubisoft Rabbids thing that could be true. Yeah, I just want to throw out there that maybe we won't get all the multi-platforms, but it's like even better that we'll be getting like these third parties to do exclusive games.
Yeah, and I mean, it may not be exactly like the Wii era because, well, they have this thing called Nindies now. Like that was sort of starting during the Wii era, but now it's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
So that will also help to bolster the lineup for the Switch. I still have hope that there'll be some decent third parties in the system, but like you're saying, there could be a lot of exclusives as well. The lineup, in my opinion, is looking very promising.
Yeah, I agree.
So I can't wait. And I mean, to be personally speaking, like with what Nintendo's doing with their games, I don't know if I really have enough time for everything else. So it's the fact that I've already played Breath of the Wild, there's DLC coming, and I'm gonna be able to play Mario Kart, Arms, and Splatoon all year, and then have Xenoblade 2 and Mario Odyssey by the end. That doesn't count any E3 announcements. Like those are huge games. Like I think most people won't buy all of those games. Of course, everyone has different tastes. Some people might not like Xenoblade, some people might. Some people don't like Zelda.
Yeah.
Whoever you are, you don't exist. But like not everyone. Not everyone's into Splatoon. So,
Yeah.
but some people are. Some people prefer Smash and only Smash. So I can't act like all these games are going to apply to everyone. So that's another argument to make. That Nintendo may be coming out with a good game every month, but that good game every month isn't for not for everyone. Some people might only like 2 or 3 franchises. So then this lineup doesn't seem that good to them. But then you have the Nindies, and like you're saying, there could be a lot of third-party exclusives coming, and they're based on some rumors, there could still be some decent third parties coming. Like there's a Dark Souls 3 rumor, the Final Fantasy 7 rumor. Those are big games, and if Switch can get some of those big third-party games, it's GG.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not sure we have anything else to cover, Sean. Is there anything you want to touch on right now? If in case of any other, I don't see any other questions coming out. I think we're good in the questions department from the chat. So,
no, I think I'm all out of thoughts on all this.
All right, well. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Hopefully some of you guys watch this after the fact. If you have any questions or things you want us to talk about or ideas for the future, relay them in the comments below. We will gladly get to them. And also, hopefully, Sean and Andy will return for next week. So, again, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.
See you guys.